Well, good morning and welcome to Morning Cuppa. It's great to have your company this morning. I'm out here with the cockatoos and all the other birds in the sunshine this morning because I wanted to show you something. I want to show you a bush. And this bush right here. Now, I know what somebody's thinking right now. Rick, that's no ordinary bush. And if that's what you're thinking, you're wrong. It is just an ordinary bush. So why am I taking you out here to show you just a plain old ordinary bush? Because 2020 has been a tough time for all of us. A lot of us have lost some major things in 2020, but all of us have lost some of the things that we do. The things that we do that remind us of who we are. We've lost the ability to be with all the people we want to be with, to be able to eat together, to be able to gather together, to sing together, to join hands, to embrace, all these kind of doing things. And maybe you've lost other doing things, not just from this pandemic, maybe other times in your life where you've through health reasons or through circumstances, you've lost the ability to do things that were important to you. And that's really a big loss if you're a doer. If your sense of who you are, if your identity is wrapped up with what you do, when you can't do those things anymore, that's really hard. If that's you, I want to share a word of hope with you this morning. It's a word of hope that God has in Exodus chapter 3. In Exodus chapter 3 is one of the most famous stories in the Bible. And it's a story about God revealing his name to Moses. He reveals his name as I am who I am, which is a really weird name. Even for God, it's a weird name. I am is a weird name. And if you think about it, at that time, all the different societies, all the different cultures, they had a whole range of gods. And the names of those gods were tightly connected with what each god did. There was a god of the harvest. There was a god of the sun. There was a god of fertility. There was a god of war. And you knew who a god was by what that god did. But in saying, when God reveals his name as I am who I am, God is revealing himself not just as another God, not just as a different God, but a whole different kind of God than these pagan gods that every culture on earth is worshiping. I am who I am. God is not about what God does. Now, the God revealed in the Bible, revealed in the Old and New Testaments, is a very active God. God does a lot of things. But in God's name, we see that everything that God does flows from who God is. It's not that who God is flows from what he does. And that's a major difference. And it has huge implications for you and me as people created in love, created in the image of I am. It means that for you and me, that our identity, it doesn't flow from what we do. What we do flows from our identity, who we are in relationship with God. So I wanted to bring you out and see this bush, this ordinary bush. Because when God reveals his name, he doesn't choose one of these mighty and majestic trees. Something that would be awe-inspiring on its own. He chooses this ordinary bush. Not this ordinary bush, but an ordinary bush, as ordinary as this bush. If Moses had ever walked by this bush before, if he'd walked by it 100 times, he never would have noticed it because it's just a bush. Nothing special about it. Just an ordinary bush. And a bush doesn't do anything except survive. Particularly in the Median wilderness, a bush would just, all a bush could do is just kind of put its roots down, try and draw up enough water and just hold on surviving against the elements. And that's what that bush did until the day that God lit the bush on fire. And here's the amazing thing about this fire burning in the bush. It burned in the bush. The fire burned in the bush. The fire burned through the bush, but the fire didn't burn up the bush. It didn't burn out the bush. And there's a lesson in the bush for us there. If God uses you for a purpose, He's not going to burn you up. He's not going to burn you out. He's not going to burn you. He doesn't need you for fuel. He's going to burn in you and burn through you. Others are going to see that light in you, but He's not going to burn you up or burn you out. And this is what commands Moses' attention. In this moment that is a hinge point in human history, when God uses an ordinary bush, it commands Moses' attention that this bush is not being burnt up or burnt out. And He uses this bush, after He's commanded Moses' attention, He uses this ordinary bush to remind Moses of who He is. He gives him his purpose. You're going to set my people free. And this amazing argument happens then. It goes on right through chapter 3 and into chapter 4. Moses argues with God. He debates with God. He says, no, you get the wrong guy. Who am I? This is at the heart of his argument. Who am I to speak to Pharaoh? Who am I? And God's response throughout this whole argument is really consistent. It's, I am with you. I will empower you. Who are you? You are mine. And that's just a word I want to leave with you today. Wherever you are on your journey, that you might be wondering, who am I in this time? When I can't do all the things that I feel like I ought to do or I want to do, who am I? Who are you? That the God of the universe would create you in love. Who are you? That God would take on human flesh and suffer and die for you. Who are you that the Holy Spirit would be with you even now, empowering you to bear the presence of God like an ordinary bush to those around you when His fire, the fire of His presence, burns in you and through you? Who are you? You are a beloved child of the living God. And in that, may you have a hope-filled day.